Metal Summoners, what's up, guys? As always, it is so fantastic to be kicking off your Wednesday night and kicking off your weekend in the middle of the week. Your Island of Misfit Toys, as always, with myself and with Angel Alamo. We are super stoked to get to hang out with you guys and continue to have such a great time and a great enjoyment and a whole lot of pleasure out of a show that you guys built. So we appreciate you guys, as always, for tuning in, showing a lot of love to the show, and whether it be merch, whether it be tuning in, and especially getting involved with our great guests and asking them questions. And speaking of guests, we have got our good friend, multi-time TMS alumni. He is back on the show. He's got more fun things to talk about, and we always love getting down and talking about all the fun projects that our guests are passionate about and the stuff that really gets their gears going, their motors running. So let's bring that good gentleman right back into it. We've got Giancarlo Floridia back with us. Thank you, my friend.
Angel's getting out his rig because he's about to submit some songs for me to shop to the labels.
No, it does actually fell a little bit.
He said he has a new Vinnie Vincent Invasion song he wanted to submit. And, you know, I don't know why, but no, I'm joking. How's it going?
Not too bad, man. Not too bad at all, my friend. We really appreciate you taking a little bit of time out of your late afternoon, early evening, and our evening to hang with us.
Yeah, no problem. It's still bright here in California. So, yeah, of course, bright.
Absolutely, my friend. So the last time we got to talk to you, you were talking about your most recent musical project and band that you had been playing with, singing with, and promoting as well. And you were also recently doing stuff with LA Guns with their music videos and stuff like that. How has that stuff been going up to the present now?
It's been really busy. Geez, so many that we've done. It's kind of cool because I get to work on videos and then also network with artists at the same time. A lot of the stuff I've gotten is through it. Like I'll meet somebody and they find out I write for the label. And it all kind of works its way out. The LA Guns one, just did that. I wrote the story for Diamonds, and then my daughter's in her third LA Guns video in a row. And pretty trippy, you know?
Yeah.
Seeing her in 3 in a row. Who would have thought, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then the first one was Get Along, and then I wrote the story for that. And then Shattered Glass, she's one of the 3 girls when we had that rotating theme. And the new one, Diamond. So, and I wrote that about me, like the story about the girl that goes around and she's writing songs. So during the time of Diamonds, they sent me the song, I listened to it, and then I wrote the story with that in mind. I was doing a lot of writing. It's something crazy. I can't announce all the albums, but it was like 4 albums in 3.5 months. So I was writing a lot. So when I heard the song, I thought about people's expression through music and how it affects us and how the bands, I guess sometimes we feel the way the bands are talking. So then she enters the room with LA Guns and I like the way that video came out and it was fun. I was also the production assistant for it. And it's LA Guns has become like family to us, and we have our team of people, Enzo Maceo, and we do most of the Frontiers videos, at least the ones that need to be shot here in America or in LA. We fly people out. We've done, so many iconic. Black Swan, my daughter was in that. Clean Break, obviously I wrote songs on that, did the videos.
Yep.
A bunch of new ones coming out too that I can't mention yet.
Sure.
Wait till stuff is kind of released, or if an artist talks about it, then I talk about it. But until then, I wait on what I'm going to say. And it's exciting because I have a bunch of songwriting stuff coming up, but I fully can't do it yet. I have to take a break from saying what I want to say all the time, and I just wait till release date or until the press comes out through the label. So
absolutely. No, and I definitely understand that, man. I mean, I've known Ace from LA Guns for many, many years. He's very, very close to my heart. Same with Johnny Martin. I've known him from many, many years. He and I actually got really tight because the first time he and I ever met, we were talking a lot about his former band, the Chelsea Smiles. And
Yeah.
he was like, whoa, that's so cool. Like, how do you know about that band? I was like, well, frankly, I think everybody should know about that band. But like, Johnny Martin and, Todd Youth and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it was just an amazing, collaboration. I was just such a great band and all that kind of stuff. And so those are the two guys in particular that I've always been very tight with and talked to all the time. And, love me some Phil. Phil is always great. He's always been a gentleman. He's always treated me great, and same with Tracy. Tracy's always been very cordial to me. I've never really gotten to have a very close conversation with Tracy. I got to talk to him a bit when actually he was the headliner for a show that I was stage managing when LA Guns played Brad Lee's Sleazy Slimy Sunday 3.
Right.
I got to talk to Tracy a little bit that day, and he really is a good guy. He's just the only guy I haven't really been able to have an extended relationship or extended conversation with. But also, Sean's also great as well. I think he's great. Loved his band Odin from back in the day. Again, just have yet to really be able to have like an extended conversation with him. But the LA Guns camp is absolutely great, and they're all just really good guys. And this continued success and trajectory, I'm all for it.
Oh yeah, man. I've developed a relationship with them because I'm writing stories for their songs, and that takes them trusting me as a songwriter to kind of figure out how we're going to conceptualize the music video for them, whether that's Get Along story with that, or whether that's Diamonds. Shattered Glass obviously doesn't really have a storyline. It's a party type video. But so I've got to know each member pretty good, and Sean, the new drummer, he's my buddy too. But like Johnny Martin, me and the kids have gone with him to like Universal Studios. We're talking about going to Disneyland. So the LA Guns camp, we've really, matter of fact, here, I got something here. Got this gold on one of my amps. This is I framed it with all the memories of the Get Along video. Here it is. Can you see this?
Yeah. Angel's good. Keep it up for a second, bro, because Angel's going to make you the big screen.
Okay.
There we go.
So let's see what we got here. There's some cool things here. This is the documentation of memory of the video. My son helped me do production. It says we made 2 jackets for the video that she wears, my daughter. I made 2 jackets with the album cover for this was Checkered Past. This is Phil's bandana from the Get Along video. He accidentally left it when he left the shoot. We've got half the video in Las Vegas and half the video in California. And I said, Phil, I have your bandana. He said, no, don't worry, mate. You can keep it. And I kept it. And this is one of the 2 jackets. And the other one my daughter has, Faith, because she was in the video. And they all signed it for me. But there was only 2 of them made in the world. And here they are. Because I came up with the idea where she runs away from home and puts on the jacket with the cover. All those things came from this sticker up here. So just pictures of me and my son with Tracy, and me and Phil in Vegas, and me and Tracy and his guitar tech here. He's a funny guy. This is one of Tracy's pics, and then pictures of my son and Tracy and Johnny. Here's me and Faith, my daughter, on this set in Hollywood where she's sleeping on the ground right there. So this is kind of a little cool rock history, and I just kind of put it in a box frame so
yeah,
my kids can have it one day. I mean, Faith's got some of it, but it's a cool little thing that I put together with all this. We had such a great time, and for Get Along, we had Ace Von Johnson flew out from Nashville, and then it was a fun time. Where Diamonds was easy, everybody came out, so we were able to do the sliding cameras, and that was simpler. Get Along was a lot of work, and I think both those 2 are 2 of my favorite videos we've done. They just have a great story, and my favorite one we've done is Leaving It All Behind by Sweet and Lynch.
Yeah.
And I like Heroes and Monsters. The first one, Raw Power, came out dope. But Sweet and Lynch, I think, is my favorite because, for one, I wrote the song with them, and the storyline I wrote with the kid. He's playing like my friend Cross. He's like a second son to me. He's a great musician here. His band, they're up in LA, and I'm helping him out a little with songwriting. he reminds me a lot of myself at that age. So instead of putting a female in the leaving it all behind video, I'm like, no, this song is about me and my struggles in life and my pursuit of music and things. And it reminded me of my son, some of the stories. So we used Cross. And that's one of my favorite videos because I really dug deep into the storyline, matching with the song I wrote and also the artwork of the album. So I think Leaving It All Behind is my favorite. We were going to shoot Michael Sweet and George Lynch on top of a rooftop. But what happened is we ended up getting rain or going to have rain or something like that. And we had to fix it quick. So we shot an Italian television show there, me and Enzo, something outside of the music industry with George Clooney's ex-fiance. She's Italian. And I said, what about the room we shot that in? And it was open and we got it. And yeah, I love that video. Anyway, so yeah, it's exciting with a lot of the videos we do. I've done so many now, but I've kind of lost track. Revolution Saints. Hang on, I have some up here. Revolution Saints, Land of Gypsies with Terry Eluse. I play a hit car driver in the video. A hit car driver. I actually acted in that. The End Machine. Robin McCauley, Standing on the Edge. I was the homeless guy in that video. And I also produced his new ones. Feel Like Hell. I wrote the story. He's chasing himself through the streets. We did some edits to that script, but it came out great. And Alive, where he's with the electricity. And Giant, Never Die Young. I wrote the script for that. We had it all set up, and we were going to have them meet in a club. At this club I used to play here in Orange County, and the lady pulled out last minute and tried to get a bunch of, we'll do it at the club where they meet, where they're playing in the club, and he's playing, and so we flipped it quick and shot it in Venice Beach. Free, right? Yeah. So that one came out cool too. There's many more, but I just see some here. I kind of documented some things. So yeah, lots of videos, and the videos opened the door for me to get more songwriting gigs, meeting Michael Sweet and etc.
Absolutely. When you do when you're writing out the songs or designing music videos, for bands in particular, what are some of the things that kind of go through your head? Like, do you take band history into consideration? Like, did they have a split? Were there two versions? Was there drugs? Was there dirt? Or was it just a great story behind the band? Like, without giving too much away, because, it's the stuff that drives you and how you think. What are some of the things that you put into your thought process about how you can relate a song or a video specifically to the band you're working with?
So Giant is a good example of that. Any band I work with, the cool thing I think why people are enjoying working with me in songwriting also is not only am I a fan of that era, but I do my history. We could talk about that with songwriting later, whether Lynch Mob is a great example of that. So Giant, when we did the Giant videos and I heard Never Die Young and I started writing out these ideas and discussing it with Enzo, what we were going to do, I looked at the old Giant videos like Stay. It had a boy and a girl with a sandcastle, or I'll See You in My Dreams had an old school story about a male and female. So it was a natural thing in a Giant video for me to want to have a male-female relationship, because that's what they did in a lot of the history of their videos. So yes, always try to respect their history and kind of maybe give the fans a little something from the past that they're going to dig. But also, like anything I do, respect the 80s era, but bring it into a new era. Try to mature it in other areas. And where would I take it today without turning into depressing grunge garbage that everybody in the planet knows I hate?
For sure, absolutely, because there's got to be a little, no, absolutely, but there's got to be.
No, they don't buy my albums anyways. Those fans. I hate that whole era. I hate it. It's my worst. I'll listen to anything but grunge. Like, to me, it's a garbage disaster.
You see why we get along so well?
Yeah,
it's like ever since I was a kid, I want to be like a rock star. And it's everything not about Rockstar. Like, you know, when I was a kid, I'm like, wow, these guys are making millions of dollars and getting chicks and on MTV. And these bands were like, oh, I hate my life. I grew up in a very dark time in the 80s with my upbringing, with my family. And the 80s music and MTV was so bright and colorful that it provided me an escape from my reality. And I'm trying to do that now. So there's this dark edge to a lot of the songwriting I do, but there's also like the light, the bright lights and neon lights at the end of it all. So I believe in everything we go through is for a purpose, and I'm seeing a lot of my songwriting to help others or in my video production storylines, you know?
Well, I like what you said about it because about the videos and the thought process behind them. Because the thing that I find really interesting is the especially with like certain clientele that you have that definitely do go back to the 80s and stuff like that. I like the idea of you making trying to keep a fresh like modern take on it, because the thing about 80s music videos is there's a lot of iconicness behind those music videos, but there's also a lot of documented history of just train wrecks and just bad choices in that kind of stuff. I mean, there's a lot. There's like
Billy
musicians.
Squire.
What's up?
Billy Squire when he was dancing.
That's actually where I was going. There's a lot of history behind that choice of music videos at a time where he's just killing the game. And there's a lot of talk about whether or not did this video kill him or did people just overreact, kind of a thing. But yeah, before we kick it over to Angel, I love, like I was saying, I dig what you said about the idea of keeping it up to date and modern, but not, not erasing their past.
Yeah. I mean, it's about respecting things, and also I'm into prog, a lot of progressive type of music. So my mind is always wanting to expand ideas. I remember, when I was a kid, my dad used to say, "Hey, Giancarlo, you take an idea, and if you have an idea, you take it and you make it even better." And I that's one of the things I did learn from my father, that it was like, he's kind of right. Like, he would say, don't rip it off, but you could take something great and try to expand on it. It's one of the few things he told me that was nice. But I was kind of, I always kind of latched onto that thought in my music. Like, how can I take my era of music and expand on it and try to make improvements? Sweet and Lynch, Leaving It All Behind, is a great example of that. That video we could have just called my daughter, "Hey, come down and let's get you." I was like, no, we're doing something that is complete to the song, because there's always, everybody wants a girl in the video because they just look better than us. So, but this time it was like, no, man, the song came from my soul directly, Michael Sweet's soul, and George, and all the stuff we did. So I wanted to make sure it was perfect. And I think that's my favorite video. And Heroes and Monsters was really cool, but that didn't have a storyline. Just like the camera shots and the action and raw power with Will Hunt from Evanescence on the drums, and it was great, man, the way that one came out. So, anyways, hang on, something dropped. You guys gotta see what I got. I was going to see Striper, and I went to Amoeba Music. Did you see this?
Oh yeah, dude! I saw your post about that, dude.
I'm rocking
that was my guy, dude. That was my guy.
So yesterday I'm going to see Striper, and I stop off at Amoeba Music, and I go through the t-shirt aisle, and this is hanging, bro. Just waiting for me. And I've always wanted one of these since I was a kid, but they're always too expensive. I got, dude, this is in mint condition. So like the universe wanted me to have this. But bro, I've always wanted one of these. I never had one back in the heyday, and dude, it's great. When I put it on and go outside, the girls are going to be going crazy.
I have the Ultimate War.
So I had to pick it up.
I have the Ultimate Warrior's original wrestling buddy.
Dude, I got one too, bro. Dude, hang on. I'll show you what else I got. Hang on.
All right. We're kicking it over to Angel shortly, fans, and we're going to get you guys involved. So make sure you're pumping in those awesome questions. Oh, look at that.
So, man.
I think Matt
Warrior
Porter would
was
love it.
like, to me, Ultimate Warrior as a kid was like a superhero come to life, and
Yep.
spent a lot of time by myself. So we would wrestle, me and my brother and our friends in the neighborhood, and Warrior was just like my role model as a kid. He's intense and a superhero, and always kind of kept that with me. So
Yeah, dude, it's funny, man, because I love watching just documentaries in general, especially with music, especially with movies, but also especially with wrestling. Like I love this Dark Side of the Ring documentary thing that's been going on and stuff like that.
yeah,
But what's interesting is I remember when the DVD got released for the self-destruction of the Ultimate Warrior, and it was the
right.
first documentary on the Ultimate Warrior. So I scooped it right up. I had to watch it, and I got to tell you, dude, that hurt me, man.
The
Because
burial session, because he wouldn't come back at the time.
right, and it was
Somebody, hang on, sorry to interrupt. Hang on, somebody just made a comment. Hang on.
Uh-oh.
About the belt. Don't worry, he's gonna show the belt.
Look at that.
They did a limited run. I got a nice little discount on it. Oh, because check this out.
Oh, hell yeah.
Come on,
Always
man.
believe.
That's his Ultimate Warrior. So
Yep.
it's when he beat Hogan. I guess they did an anniversary with all his colors. As you can see, I'm a big Ultimate Warrior buff. I even have a tattoo on my wrist right here that says "Always Believe," and it's etched in my skin with his mask. And then this is Ultimate Warrior in Japanese.
That's sick, dude. But yeah, dude. But yeah, dude, like that documentary hurt me, dude, because it was so crazy. Because I was like, man, because I grew up on that dude. And don't get me wrong, like I'm a pretty smart guy when it comes to wrestling. I understand the deal, but the funny thing is, Warrior had been out of the game for so long that, like, okay, when I was into him was during his like core of greatness, and even when he made his appearance in WCW for that short little time.
Yeah.
But I knew the Warrior, as a kid growing up in the 80s when he was at his peak of just awesomeness before he went away, which turned out because he got fired because he threatened Vince to not show up for an appearance, and Vince was like, fine, you're fired. But anyway, you find all that stuff out later. But anyway, I watched that documentary and it was crazy because I was like, I truly didn't know to the extent of how much he really was disliked backstage amongst the other talent.
Well, I have a similar situation, in the music industry. Like, I focused on music and my future and where I want to take things for the fans. Whereas a lot of the guys in LA, not the guys I work with at the labels because they're already established, they don't like me because they're too busy being them and all, oh, we got to this and that and backstab. I think Warrior knew his destiny. He went for it. He succeeded. Still to this day, one of the most iconic figures in wrestling, if not next to Hogan and Macho and him are like the top three. We haven't seen anything like it since 92.
Not at all.
So he knew his dream and he went for it. And a lot of people didn't like that he wasn't participating in the parties and the drugs all the time. He was a bodybuilder that had a dream that became a stadium headliner. So I draw a lot of inspiration for that. So same like the industry. Not everybody has to like me. I don't care. I don't subscribe to a lot of the games of the parties and the this and the that. I'm a dad, an Italian kid that just wants to play great music to help people. And if I don't partake in all the parties in Hollywood every week and shove everything up my nose, hate me for it. I don't care. So I think he got a lot of that where the wrestlers didn't understand why he just wanted to be a lone wolf and left alone. And sometimes where you're doing songwriting or anything you're building in your mind, you have to be focused. I cut a lot of people out of my life because I just don't want to be distracted by them. And I think he had his vision and he accomplished it.
Yeah, no, I can definitely understand that. But I will say after, then years later after that, I do have appreciation for the WWE, like kind of making right with him and then doing a follow-up documentary that he was involved in. That was more of a tribute because that was that was a bitter pill for a little while, dude, until like the good one came out where, yeah, it's not that the other stuff wasn't rooted in fact, but it was so sadness driven that they didn't really talk about all like the awesome stuff, and how the fans were super involved and loved him and, and stuff like that. I mean, it was pretty crazy. And I also really dug speaking of Dark Side of the Ring, I really dug the documentary they did on the Ultimate Warrior because I think they did a good job. And it was really interesting hearing from his ex-wife.
Danny one's better, but that one's cool too. And look, man, in the 80s, it was just a whole other, I call it heaven on earth. Those characters, man, it was just untouched. It was the golden era. Iron Sheik just passed away today.
I know, passed away today. Like
total bummer.
Yeah. So
we're talking about wrestling, not music, but I'm trying to relate to wrestling.
Oh no, it's all good. But also for what it's worth,
it's interesting.
Oh yeah. But for what it's worth for the fans, like that I will say though, I will give them a little thumbs up and a plug. I do think those I forget their name. I think it's like Evan and like Jason or something like that. But the two co-creators of Dark Side of the Ring, I think they did I think they're doing a really great job. I went to bed early last night and I really wanted to see their Magnum TA episode. So I'll have to get caught up on that one later. But I think
Brian Pillman one's good. Check out the Brian Pillman one.
That one's great. The only one that I really didn't like, and this probably has a little bit to do with me personally, but also as far as the way the episode gets shaped up and the interviews needed, they didn't have those. The only episode they did that I really thought fell flat and I really didn't think was that good when I thought it could have been great was the XPW episode that they did, which was about the kind of extreme rival company of ECW, because there was a lot of craziness that happened in that company. But the main reason is the personal reason that I'm sure has a little bit to do with my opinion is the fact that the former wife of the owner of that company is a very dear friend of mine who I've been friends with for 10 years. And she and I are very, very close. She was not involved with that episode. We had a private conversation. They did reach out to her. She chose not to be involved because she didn't like the way the episode was shaping up. Right. And she wanted to make sure that she, would have been portrayed correctly when it comes to that. And she doesn't have ill will. She just didn't like the way the episode was kind of being set up and scripted, which is totally fine. She's 100% in her right to feel that way. But that's probably my personal issue. But they also did not get any interviews with the actual owner of the company. And I'm like, you kind of can't do this episode correctly without the two top players. But you didn't get either of them. You could have probably done well if you had one of them, but you got zero of them. So I just personally thought that episode fell flat. But overall, whether it be the Brian Pillman ones, which I thought were fantastic, the Chris Benoit one, which is crazy, but it was really good.
I haven't seen that.
The Montreal Screwjob one was really good. The Owen Hart one I thought was amazing.
I haven't seen it. I need to see that one.
Because they got, because again, just like Giancarlo said, fans, we don't want to get too off track, but they interviewed Owens. They got real time with Owen Hart's ex-wife, widow. She even showed, because she has it in her possession, she showed the actual rigging that dropped him to his death. So that was a very powerful
I need to watch that. I have a history of wrestling. We'll do a couple more minutes about wrestling. I grew up around it. My brother David, he is heavily involved with New Japan Pro Wrestling, Ring of Honor, so it's in the family. So I grew up hanging around it. If you look at WrestleMania, the one in Las Vegas, I'm actually on the aisle. So if you watch it, I'm like, yay! I got some pictures in my thing. So I got to go to that. So my brother used to live with Yokozuna, Rodney.
Wow.
And lived with him in Vegas when he left the company, and then his weight got out of control. He passed away. So my brother was very close. They lived together. My brother lived with him. And I used to talk to Rodney on the phone a couple of times. We're good friends with Davey Boy Smith Jr.
Yeah.
He comes. He's crashed in my place before. So I have a history of wrestling. But He went the wrestling route. I went the music route with my brother, and now
Totally.
he does
My my buddy Ryan just got hired by AEW
Right.
to tour with them as a part of the ring crew. He's an independent wrestler. He's got an excellent gimmick. He's a young kid that's kind of building his career, but very, very smart, is actually very well versed on the mic, and has a good thing going with what he's doing. But yeah, I talked his mom just let me know recently that he got hired by AEW to tour with them as part of the ring crew. So all I can hope is that goes absolutely great, and he makes a bunch of contacts and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, fans, Giancarlo and I are going to jump off the wrestling.
No more wrestling because I'm not buff enough.
We also need to get our brother Angel back involved here. So we're going to kick it over to Angel. We're going to let him take it away for a little while and also bring in your fan questions. Angel, it is all you, my guy.
Just want to say, man, thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. The cool thing that I want to say about you is that you're the same guy you were 4 years ago. Because 4 years ago, I remember doing an interview with you, and you're still the same cool guy. I mean,
Thank you.
As you have
I didn't get
now,
too arrogant,
you're
did
still
I?
same cool guy.
Thank you. You know, I try to be. Look, man, I went from the bottom and losing everything to now cracking the Billboard top 10 to just all sorts of crazy stuff the past 2 years. So I also know what it feels like to lose everything. So I see some guys in the industry that think they're hot shit. For me, I know to just, my camera went down, to appreciate it. And I'm really happy to be where I'm at. So I'm not going to turn into somebody else. I'm proud of my songwriting work and everything else, but all of a sudden, I don't think I'm Desmond Child either. You know, I don't think I wrote Bon Jovi Living on the Prayer in '86. So I try to stay calm and nice and try to be easy to work with. I try, but thank you. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, man. And, you know, in 3 stints on this show, man, I agree with Angel, dude. You've been nothing but courteous and cordial and also very supportive of us and just a really great cat. So thank you so much, sir.
We'll do it again, too. We'll do it again. Next year, I can't say all the albums, but I think there's like 6 or 7 I'm all involved with, all going to be major releases. We will have a lot to talk about this time next year.
Dang.
I can't say all of them. We can talk about a few that already.
Can say that.
What's that?
Not many songwriters can say that. Oh, not many songwriters can say that.
Coming in, it's just been the Clean Break album stuff I wrote just opened up so many doors. Those 2 songs I wrote, because everybody especially some of the ones that are coming out that I can't announce yet. It's like, wow, I'm surprised I'm working on those. I'm surprised that Alessandro Del Vecchio reached out to me because they're very important projects to Frontiers that they just don't let anybody touch.
Yeah.
So things are moving in an interesting direction, and I'm gonna do what I've always done: respect the artist, but also add some new blood, like the new Sweet and Red Heart and Sacrifice. I mean, listen to the last album and then listen to Heart and Sacrifice. I don't think I need to say more. It's more what the fans would want. So that's my goal, is to very passionate. Maybe it's some Italian, but very passionate about anything I do. And I'm putting that into the albums, you know? So I'm trying. So we got a lot coming up.
I'm good. So we got to do the. What is your favorite video that you've made?
So Leaving It All Behind is my favorite. I have a few favorites. That one is my overall favorite. I like Miracle too. You know, the Sweet and Lips thing, I'm going to be close to it because I wrote the songs with them. I like Get Along. I like Diamonds, but there's something about Get Along that I like so much. Like that story and Jesse Snyder playing my daughter's dad and the Hollywood. We really captured LA Guns, I think, in that video. And what a great song. When I remember getting the file from Enzo, and I listened to it. I'm like, man, and I just wrote out the script and came out with this ideas of her getting a jacket and her falling asleep on the streets of Hollywood, and it's a great memory for me. Everything we've done is pretty cool. That one's up there. Get Along is up there with Leaving It All Behind to me. It's just very special. And plus, my son worked on it with me. It was just one great thing after another. And the fans loved it. So hopefully that's a decent answer.
The first video that you created.
First one we did with our team was Revolution Saints. Let me see what album that was. Hang on. It was the Rise album. We did, the one I worked on was When the Heartache Is Gone, where she's on the couch and Dino's playing the drums. What's her name? Paula Mendez? That one. I'm in the video for Talk to Me. You could see me walking in the door with Dean out of the elevator or something. So the first one we did as our team was, I believe, Revolution Saints Rise album. I believe. I got to think about it, but I think that was the first one.
If you could make a video for anybody, past or present, who would it be?
Good question. Past or present? A lot of people, I don't know who this band is. I would love to do something for X Japan, especially in their heyday with all that glam and prog metal, and they had so many visual elements. To do some with Yoshiki with the roses and the classical piano. Mm-hmm. So if you guys don't know who X Japan is, look them up. They were like a prog metal symphonic band before the days of where everything was phony and fake, where the Dragon Force kicks were in there. It was the real deal. And it wasn't so automated and fake. These guys were monsters. I would have loved to do a video for X Japan if you really had to say one band. That would be insane. And they were glammy, but they played prog. It was out of this world. I guess technically they're the biggest band ever to come out of, or the biggest band in Japan of all time.
Yeah, like for anybody who's not familiar, if like you're into loudness, just kind of picture loudness with a little more "fuck you."
It's a great example. Yeah, there you go. And they're very emotional. A lot of my songwriting,
for real,
they were very emotional. I'm like, that's cool to put into music. So a lot of that stuff I do put into some of my writing. So X Japan, if I pick one in the heyday though, like 92, 93, when they were really like visual.
Yeah, I love loudness. I love X Japan, and there's another band called Duran Gray who I've been
with the vampire stuff, right?
I fucking love that. Well, obviously, yeah, but vampires are kind of what I know best. Just ask Angel about the episode we had 3 weeks ago, and he'll So
anybody who didn't see, sorry, go ahead.
The
vampire. You're right. Okay.
They're on my neck. Yeah, but I love the band Duran Gray. They're easily as much. I love X Japan and I love loudness, but like Duran Gray is like that little bit of extra like creepy vampire kind of feel that sunk their teeth into me and stuff like that. So, but yeah, X Japan easily the biggest band to come out of Japan
ever in Japan. I mean, they sold out multiple nights. I had dinner one night with Yoshiki.
Oh, nice.
I met him. I was hanging out with some people, and there was a meeting at the Rainbow on the patio, and Yoshiki was right there. It was right when he had died. So I was like 18. We had dinner, and it's like, how do you know who I am? Because nobody knew who they were at the States in the phone. Like, dude, you're like a legend in Japan. We had such a great time. And he actually had my old band going. Sorry, I had some popcorn with olive oil. Italian, you know? Yep. Seriously, olive oil on it. Gets in my throat. And he was so cool. I had my band that was going, and he actually put me in contact with his label. It was called Ecstasy Records. There was the girl over there that did A&R, and they were going to come out and see me. The label ended up folding. That was very cool of him. That was one of my favorite nights, like, of memories, and he was such a great guy. We had some good jokes, and he's tiny. He's like smaller than me. He's He was not arrogant. He was a multimillionaire, and he was just very classy. And that was a fun time when I had dinner with him. I haven't seen him since. I would, you know, I would love to work with him on. I've done lyrical assistant stuff, so if I ever see him again in LA, I'd like to talk to about working on an album with them to get the lyric, because I've done it for Push King from Russia and other artists from Italy and Sweden and stuff. So I would love to work on an ex Japan album musically too.
Oh yeah, if they ever did like a real proper documentary on ex Japan, it would knock some dicks in the dirt.
Knock some dicks in the dirt. What does that mean?
I mean, it would take some like what I mean is, dude, it would take some people. It would take some people out, dude. Like that band has so much amazing history and just so much just kind of just shocking info that I just don't think people realize. And I think it would really be like
the techniques and
yeah,
it makes a lot of the U.S. music look like a joke. Honestly,
I mean, you think
these guys were monsters.
yeah, I mean, from bands from Europe, you think about a band like Iron Maiden, who's ruled the world for all these years. It plays the U.S. and all these other big stuff like that. But just like you said, I mean, the ex Japan, like they've been around forever. It's such a huge band, and you know, are millionaires in their own right.
Yeah,
you know, with everything, and it's just psychotic.
It's insane. Sorry, somebody texted me. Yeah, I love them. Dahlia album. Oh, well, what had happened with them is he bought out the studio that Metallica was using. It's called One-on-One Recording, and Yoshiki had so much money that he was able to buy it out, and it was called Ecstasy Recording for a while. Oops, my camera. So yeah. Anyways, I like Ex Japan. People are like, "What the heck are they talking about?" This is what's cool about things. We talk about wrestling. We talk about music in Japan, like Lunacy. If you guys have never heard of Lunacy, check them out. There's another band in Japan I like called Siam Che. They're like a melodic garage band. So guys, everything ain't Def Leppard and Motley Crue. Check some other stuff out. Check out some bands from Sweden, like and a lot of the bands.
Check out my beloved 69 Eyes.
Oh, see, there's a lot of bands out there. If you do your research and you dig, you know, Frontiers does have a lot of cool European bands too. And do a little searching and you will find even more music up there than, you know, Faith Says was a good example of that. You had to dig for us a little bit more, but, you know, it was cool. There's a cult following for it, but there's a lot of cool bands from overseas, guys.
Well, for sure. And the final thing I'm going to say before I truly am going to shut the fuck up for a little bit and give Angel the mic for a bit is like, especially with you working at Frontiers, for anybody who's into like those Marvel DC universe stuff that's, you know, been taking over the world for like the last like 20 years. You know, if you watch the Suicide Squad, then you know the Peacemaker character, which then spawned into a TV show. And that show was completely filled with 80s influenced music as well as 80s music. Pretty Boy Floyd's is featured in there. John Cena is wearing a t-shirt for Pretty Boy Floyd. But I remember watching the show with my buddy, and I wouldn't shut the hell up either because I kept reacting because all of these, I love Swedish and Finnish music so much. And I was like,
Wham! And
every couple of minutes, my buddy Ron was probably like, and Metal Summoners, you guys know Ron because he's worked with me and Angel at M3 holding up for our interviews. And I was like, oh my God. He probably was getting to the point where he was like, dude, just shut the fuck up. Because every couple of minutes, I'd be like, oh my God, there's music from Cruel Intentions playing. Oh my God, they've got music playing from like Crash Diet. Oh my God, the intro music, and this is what gets back to Frontiers. The intro music is by Wigwam, who's from Norway. And
Norway
put on Peacemaker. I was like, how the flying fuck did they even know about those guys? I knew about those guys, but I was like, how did that band, like, how did they secure the intro music of an American show spawn off a DC Universe movie? Like, that was insane to me.
I'm aware of the show. And Michael Sweet, myself, and Alessandro Lovecchio just wrote a new album that Michael's talking about, so I can talk about it. I can't give too much detail on it yet. It will be out this year. And I said, Michael, these songs are like very 80s movie. Like, they're nothing like Michael's done since the 80s. People are going to be shocked. Very retro. It's like if Michael would have left Striper in 86 or like on In God We Trust around 88 and did a solo album. People are going to just go crazy for it. And I said, man, we should try getting some of these songs maybe on that show. So I am aware of the show, and it would be cool to get some stuff on there. Time will tell, but me and Michael, we discussed it. So, we'd have to see if Frontiers can do anything. But yeah, I think it would be perfect for that show, some of the stuff we wrote. There should be some press on the album, I'm hoping, in the next 2 or 3 months. I can't say much more. I can only say what Michael said. I respect the label, and I make sure I don't cross certain lines because we're all Italian and we are like this until the time is right.
100%, man. Absolutely. All you, Angel.
Okay, I got more really good fan questions. Just want to what's your take on the progression of MTV from music videos to much less of the music?
From when I was a kid, wow. I mean, I was blessed. I always tell people I was blessed to grow up in the greatest era of music in the 80s. I was a little kid, and I would come home every day, watch George Michael, Terrence Trent D'Arby, Striper, Kiss, Winger, Warrant, Slaughter. I mean, up into 92 when the planet went to shit and never came back. And it was like, you can't, I tell my kids, like, man, it was like so amazing. So it was definitely a bummer to see them not doing music. But even before they stopped doing music, like, it was getting bad. They stopped promoting melodic songwriting, and Headbangers Ball is all we kind of had left, and everybody wanted to be tough. And like, look, I'm tough, but there's nothing wrong with liking, people have matured since then. But I miss it. I really miss it. But YouTube, you could find stuff. But yeah, that pushed the sales through the roof. I mean, MTV was a springboard for all my favorite bands to become not only millionaires, but tour arenas, And I told my son at the Striper show the other day, we were there, and it was a packed house at House of Blues in San Diego. So when I was a kid, these guys were doing arenas now. They were big when I was a kid. I remember it was like, jeez. It's like an alternate reality. MTV is now an alternate reality, friends. And it sucks. I hope I answered that properly.
Yeah, they do. I don't even know why they have the MTV Music Awards. You don't play fucking music.
Like drama. But same thing with WWE. It sucks, man. Turn it on. It's like the days of our lives. I miss the flashy characters. Is there more questions? Let's see what we got. Because we talked a lot about wrestling.
Who would you like to collaborate with that you haven't collaborated with yet?
Wow, these are some good questions. Thanks, guys. Oh, boy. Richard Marx. I would love to do a hard rock album with him. Ex-Japan. My biggest one, though, which would be impossible probably. Well, I shouldn't say impossible because you never know. To bring out a retirement, I would love to work with Chris DeGarmo from Queensryche. I would love to just sit down with him and write some songs, even if it's for Frontiers. I have a new song I wrote with Alessandro Del Vecchio. I can't say the name, but man, this thing, it's coming out on one of the albums that I can't talk about. I don't think it's going to make the cut for this year. I think it'll be early next year. Bro, this song, I said, if we don't use it for this artist, I told Alessandro, use this to Jeff Tate because it sounds like Queensryche on Empire. This song is one of my favorites I've ever done. It sounds like Another Rainy Night or something. So Chris DeGarmo, Richard Marx would probably be my two top favorites. I would like to work with Desmond Child too, sometime. I mean, even if it's on a pop song, I can write whatever. So, yeah, those would be my main people.
Now, here comes probably the toughest question of the night. The Beatles or Elvis?
Beatles, because when I was a kid, I used to sing them a lot on my karaoke machine. I love the harmonies. I just think only because I'm more familiar with them. Like somebody in my family used to really like the Beatles, and or somebody we hung out with. So they were listening to the Beatles all the time. Oh, you know who it was? It was my babysitter. He's like, we call him Tio. He was a Spanish guy. And he watched me and my brother like, man, he loved the Beatles. So it's not that I don't like Elvis more or equally. It's just he would call them the Beatles. And we listened to the Beatles a lot. So Beatles, just because of that reason. It's almost like I'm not familiar enough with Elvis's catalog. In terms of visuals, Elvis, man, he was the ultimate rock star, man. Come on. But in terms of what I'm familiar with, Beatles. That's a good question, actually.
Yeah, I'm gonna make this one around the table question because I love this question. If MTV brought back Celebrity Deathmatch, who would you put in the ring and why?
You guys answer first. You don't want my. You know when you have that where you just say something you shouldn't, and you know you shouldn't say it, especially in the music industry. So you're not going to say it. So you guys say it first, and I'm going to rethink because my first answer is not okay. Go ahead. Not a
If
good
you want
answer.
us to get back to you, Jay, want to answer?
Yeah.
Or you can
For
go first if you want.
yeah.
So, you want because
I'm
I've been
not
thinking
going to say.
about this. I've been thinking about this answer for 20 minutes.
Go
For
no.
Celebrity Deathmatch,
Next
I would
question.
put
Next question. Next question.
and New Kids on the Block because I hate boy bands and it would be fun to see them kill each other.
Right.
I'll
New
let that.
Kids on the
There you
Block
go.
and who? You
That's
cut
my answer.
out.
And
New
in
Kids and
sync,
who?
He said
That
NSYNC
would
and
be
Backstreet Boys.
interesting. New Kids should win because
yeah.
they're
I
80s on
mean,
that computer.
they can't sing, they can't write, so why not do Celebrity Deathmatch? And they suck.
Yeah. About like nah, no politics. I don't talk politics. Forget it. Vinnie Vincent and Hillary Clinton.
There you go.
Welcome. Sorry, Pellegrino water. They can both wear the same outfit that they wear. You know how they wear the same blouse? Put them in a match. See, that's my nicer version. You didn't want to know my original death match. Vinnie Vincent versus Hillary Clinton. They can wear the Vinnie today with that outfit from today. Boom. That was a good answer. See, recovered.
Yeah. Yeah.
I,
Go.
Jay, it's on you now, buddy.
I kind of, to be honest, I just because my big thing is I just can't stand bad music. I hate
So you can't stand live.
the pre-recorded, everybody's a pop singer. It's all about this kind of look, that kind of performance. So I kind of wouldn't hate for like Beyonce to go at it with like Justin Bieber, but just have Peter Steele just come in and fuck them both up.
I saw a typo when he was alive. It was a cool show. It's a good show. I knew a girl who worked at Metal Edge magazine, and I got to see them in the pit. I just hung out with her, like where they have the photographers only, so everybody's behind me. Cool show, man. It was one of the shows. I was like, man, these guys are great.
Oh hell yeah!
In their prime. In their prime. Pretty cool.
I love Typo Negative so much. And like it, I mean, it would for people that know me, fans that know me, or just my friends and stuff. They all know the musical tastes I have. So there's anybody that I could name. They're like, well, you would love to see a member of the 69 Eyes come and fuck up those people. You would love to see a member of him. You would love to see a member of Motley Crue come in and fuck all those people up. But I'm like, yeah, but the idea of Peter Steele coming in, who's already like 6'7",
He's a
is
big boy.
very just chill in general because he was a very low key kind of guy. But just the idea of a guy like Peter Steele coming in and just getting hyper violent at the expense of Beyonce and Justin Bieber, I think would be amazing.
That was an unexpected question.
Cool twist. Yeah. If you could remake any video, which video would you remake?
This is just on the top of my head. This isn't super thought out. It's only because the other week I was watching something. The Kiss Dynasty videos.
Okay.
They just kind of did Sure Know Something and I Was Made for Loving You on that cool stage. It'd have been cool to have some different storyline with it or something like that. That's just, without a bunch of thought. But I was watching a Kiss thing the other week and I went, that would be cool if they would have done something a little different with those videos. Just random. There's nothing wrong with them.
Giancarlo, save Billy Squire.
Billy Squire.
I think all Def Leppard opening up for him, so that could have. He made the video, and he also had Def Leppard opening up for him.
Yeah.
Around the same time of that video. If you could pick 4 bands from any era to make a concert, which 4 bands would you pick?
4 bands. Can it be them in their prime? Or does it have to be them like the new version with one original member? They could be like them. If it's in their prime and I can go to any show, the first thing that comes to my mind is seeing the Temptations, but that doesn't mix with like Queensryche. So I would like to see Queensryche during that Operation Mindcrime. So I'll do like a hair metal type package. Queensryche, this is at the top of my head during that era with Tate. I would have loved to see it. I was a little kid. I never got to see it. I would like to see Winger on In the Heart of the Young. I would like to see Creatures tour, Kiss, where they had the tank. Because I was like 2 years old. And one more. So Winger in the Heart of the Young, Kiss, Creatures, Queensryche on that live crime empire thing. And you know what? I'd like to see Firehouse in the heyday. Like on Hold Your Fire tour. Or the first album. I was just hanging out with Perry last night. And I was talking to him about and he said, yeah, that's the one. He's from South Carolina. So that's the one where we think they did a tour with Poison with Richie Kotzen or something he was telling me about. But I would like to see them back maybe on the first 2 albums. Because they're very good live. So I can imagine how good they were on maybe like Hold Your Fire tour. That'd be like a little cool concert I would like to see. That's not a bad one.
No, not at all.
Fan wants to know, Dennis, when is Tom on record coming out? If you know the answer to.
When is it coming
talk
out?
about it.
I can't say because there's contractual stuff. I wait, and the only reason Babylon is getting word is because George. I hop online one day, and I wrote this song on there with them called "The Sinner," that I've talked about a few times in my interviews. George is a free-thinking atheist, and he sent me a song. Shit, I wish I could pull it up on my computer. See if I can pull it up. I shouldn't pull it up because of copyright reasons. Anyways.
Yeah, we might get muted by Facebook and YouTube.
But he sent me the song. He sent me the whole album. I co-wrote the whole new Lynch Mob album. And, there's a few I'm less involved with, but technically I'm a co-writer on the whole album. Another story for another time. But he sent me this song, and I'm like, dude, this is a gospel metal song called "The Sinner." And I just kept hearing, "And mercy on my soul, 'cause I'm a sinner. Can anybody pray for me? I'm always bringing life straight down to his knees." And I kept hearing it. And I said, dude, this is a song. I said, I know you're atheist, but can I try it? And George texted me back, "It sounds interesting." And then I hop online one day, and they're playing it at all these concerts, and John Blabbermouth, The Sinner, and so it's kind of funny how much George is. And I talked to George because he's working on some guitar for me, and he tells me how much he loves playing it live. It just fit. And when I did my research, he used to play in Compton in the Black Gospel Revival churches. So George Lynch cut all of his teeth, kicking ass, playing these hourly events where they would just play for hours and hours and hours before heavy metal. So it made sense. I didn't know that, even though he's my favorite guitar player. I was not aware of that. And I did my research after the Sinner, and there you have it. So it's always in his blood. So I can't tell you the release date. It's obviously coming out this year because they've said that. And you should be hearing some stuff on it very soon. Well, I'm hoping in the next couple months. I'm hoping. I know the release date, but I don't know the dates when videos are coming and lyric videos are coming. And if I did, I couldn't say anyways. But it is coming out this year, 100%. I can say that. I hope you enjoy it. I really tried to get it back to the first 2 albums, and I wrote the entire record in less than 3 weeks, 2.5 weeks, because we were on a deadline, and they brought me in after the success of Sweet and Lynch, Heart and Sacrifice. George was so impressed with my work that he brought me in to write the entire record with them, which was an honor. And my goal was to get it sounding like Wicked Sensation or the 92 release like Robert Mason, but in 2 to 3 weeks of time. I think I came very close. There's some very cool songs on it. There's a song I wrote with them. I can't say the name yet. It's my favorite song they've done since 1992. It's freaking killer. It's killer. There's one on there that sounds like Tooth and Nail. There's one that sounds like The Hunter. I know those are Dawkins songs, but it's a Dawkins-centric type of Lynch Mob album. If they would have put out another album with Robert Mason, this would have been it. And I'm very proud of it. So I know I can't answer the release date, but that gives you a little insight on what's going on with it without me disrespecting anyone or disobeying the record company. Oh, my camera went out. I hope I answered that good. So get ready for Lynch Mob Babylon.
I got it. Damn, I mean, that's awesome doing a new record. I mean,
What's that?
I said it's cool that Lynch Mob is getting ready to come out with new music.
Oh, you guys are gonna love it. I mean, I don't know if you've heard The Sinner. It's different, man. It's really cool. I went to go see them play in LA with my son, and what an experience. They played that song. They played 2 songs from the new album. And I remember I'm watching them, and by the second chorus, I kind of look and I see people singing along. I went, wow, this is an amazing moment in my life. Like, here's George playing a song that I wrote with him. I mean, I remember being a kid coming home. George kept me out of trouble. When kids were doing drugs, I would come home and learn all George's guitar parts. So imagine me walking to a venue with my son. We're watching George, and the crowd is singing along to this song that I wrote. It's amazing, man. And I really tried my best to respect the Lynch Mob legacy. So hope you guys like it.
Hey, got a question for you from another musician from Jersey, my good friend. Thanks for a while, bro. Really appreciate it. We'll be about doing an interview. He wants to. What is the easiest way to capture new fans?
Okay, so a lot of people are asking me because it's very hard to get in the industry. The approach I had. Okay, so I went from everybody giving up on me. I was in the music industry at 20. We have time, right? We can talk for a little bit, or
Yeah.
How much time do we have?
Yeah,
Do we have like 20 minutes? We have 20 minutes or something, right? I'm not gonna. The question's not that long.
we
Trying to.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So I was gonna be signed.
We got
with
plenty
John
of time.
Kolodner. Okay. I was gonna be signed with John Kolodner's A&R team at Sony Music. He had these guys. They did Portrait Records, and I was on my way at 20 years old. I decided to quit the music industry and take care of my kids and raise them because it was more important than me becoming a rock star. And I said to myself, if it's ever meant to be, it'll happen. Skip over me showcasing for Sony and possibly being in a band on Sony Music to forwarding it to coming back to the industry at 30 and everybody telling me I was done. There's no way, you're not 21 anymore. And I said, this is garbage. I'm a better singer now. I'm a better guitar player. I'm a better songwriter. So all my time off, when I took my kids, I left California for a little bit. I just kept practicing. Practiced a lot of Striper, which is interesting, working with Michael. Very strange. So what happened for me is I heard an album called Starbreaker with Tony Harnell from TNT. It was a game changer when it came out. And I did the research. So I tell people, do your research. What style is your music? What bands are on that label? So my goal, one day I made a decision to come home. I knew my marriage was not going to be recovered. And I'm going back to that anyways. And I made a decision. I was in Ohio. I'll never forget it. And the person I was living with said, what are you going to do now? So I'm going to go back to California and I'm going to find this producer and I'm going to work for Frontiers Records. I'm going to get a record deal with Frontiers Records. Pretty crazy, right? And the producer was Fabrizio Grossi, who was with Steve Vai, Starbreaker, and he was doing a lot of the Frontiers work. So I went from that, and I had a 4-song demo I did with Juan Crocier from Rat before I took the kids and left. It's the last thing I did. Juan produced. I was still going to try to get signed, but I chose my kids, and I don't regret it for a minute. And that 4-song demo that I have from Juan from Rat, gave it to Fabrizio, reached out to him online. He came up with a game plan. We discussed some things. I knew if I had a super group, it was going to help me because it was harder to get in with labels, and it still is. So I put together a group with Alex DeRosa, who was in Dawkins, Fabrizio Grossi was with Steve Vai, and we had a session drummer named Tony Mora. Then we added Tim Gaines from Striper later on, Matt Starr from Ace Frehley's band. So I garnished press by working with all-star musicians, and then blabbermouth, hey, look, the guy from Striper is playing with the guy from Mr. Big and with this new band. That attracted Face Edge to just keep going and getting a lot of the press that the other bands didn't get, the newer bands. So I kind of had to maneuver in my mind how to get in. And then when they heard the music, they're like, wow, this is great. And we built a following. And 4 albums later, it was going to be a 5th album, but instead I'm obviously writing for everybody else instead. So I recommend do your homework, be honest with yourself. What style is, because we're not all innovators and super geniuses like we think we are. Be honest. What's your style? Who at the record company should you contact? Is your music good enough? Be competitive. Be competitive because, man, it's the politics of the music business is one thing, but if you can have great songs, that's what happened with me. Fabrizio Grossi had a bunch of bands. I got signed with not Frontiers at first. It was their competition in Italy. Scarlet Records signed me first through E1, and then Spiritual Beast through Universal in Japan. Fabrizio Grossi had a bunch of bands that he was producing, so there was no guarantee when I did the first Face Edge album. And Enzo, who I work with now, was working for Scarlet Records, and he played it and he said, who is that? Guess who that was? Me. 3 months later, 3 or 4 months later, I was in magazines all over the world, and my life just went, and it kept going up since. So be smart. You have good songs, work on your craft, but also be aware of what's going on in the business. I think if you can put those 3 things together, you'll find yourself moving up. Just my opinion. It's what worked for me. Very detailed answer. There you go. Love you, whoever you are.
Yeah, that was from Tommy Rice. He played with George Lynch at United Live Music Festival.
Hey, Tommy. Thanks, man.
So it's
Good
cool
question.
that you're giving this advice to musicians.
Yeah, I mean, just do quality stuff. I mean, people are calling me in to work with them because I literally go places like Sweet and Live Hard and Sacrifice. There's a song on there called After All Is Said and Done. And when we had to do a ballad for the record, I wrote a song about me and my father that's very dark. And Michael twisted it to be positive at the end. It's one of my finest moments. But I had to say to myself, I have to do something different as a ballad. I just don't want to crank out a love song. And that songs, it's things like that where I'm putting myself out there maybe a little bit more. that's getting me more gigs. And look, it's hard because you write a song and then people know, and you're like, oh God, and but I think as a writer, or the title Heart and Sacrifice, it was a song I wrote called Heart of Sacrifice that Michael liked the idea, and it changed to Heart and Sacrifice. It's about I slept on the floor for the first Space Edge album. I literally rented a room, went back to college, saved my money. My son was with me at the time. He was a little kid. He had his bed. I slept on the floor, put the money together, funded the record. Are you willing? I know a lot of guys that are talented, but are you really willing to sacrifice? Entitled Sweet and Lynch, Heart and Sacrifice. So everything I'm very, like I said earlier, I'm passionate about it. So these are just my opinions. I don't know everything, but it's nice. A lot of people are asking me a lot of questions when I go out to shows. When I went to Striper, people are being very respectful. They're seeing that I'm succeeding in a lot of areas. So it's nice when people ask me songwriting questions or industry and advice, because things are so bad right now, and I'm doing very well. So I hope that question answered it halfway decent.
And my question is, can you talk about the making of the song? How did that song come together?
Which one? I broke up.
Behind.
Leaving it all behind?
I'm sorry. Leaving it. Yep.
He said, you're
Yeah.
breaking up.
How did that song come together?
Yeah, leaving it all behind.
Sorry.
Everybody, everybody loves that song. So, matter of fact, my son was with me the other day. We saw Striper. Oh, my camera's being funny. And I walk into House of Blues San Diego. And this guy's having dinner with his friends, and he has this started sacrifice there. Really cool moment again. And I'm showing my kids, like, hey, set your goals. And he said, leaving it all behind is really helping me. And a lot of people have told me that song helped them. But once again, I'm not trying to write cookie cutter songs that are predictable. I'm trying to go from my personal experience without getting too silly, and maybe people will connect with it. So leaving it all behind. What happened was I was writing the album. The song was originally called Just Scars. The end of the chorus said, what's left of your heart's a scar, something of that nature. So Michael cut it, the end of the chorus, and leaving it all behind. It won't be easy, I'll be fine. I was going through a lot. I've experienced a lot of loss over the past few years. I had a friend who succumbed to drug use. I had a relationship with somebody I cared about deeply that wasn't going to work out. My mother and my father are not a part of my life. It just all added up, those four things at one time. And I went to a restaurant on PCH called Harbor House Cafe. I'll never forget it, because when I wrote it, I felt something like, I know this sounds all oogly boogly, but something in the universe like shifted. Like I felt like I was, like something between here and the sky opened up, where I knew something special was in these lyrics. And sorry, I got one of my 80s commercials here to make me feel the vibe. And I wrote the words. So here's how I did it. Each album is different. George sent me Babylon. I did it, recorded it right here. Actually, I recorded the album right here on this computer. I was at a different location. Set it up, sing it. Leaving it all behind, Michael Sweet challenged the shit out of me. He didn't even show me the music to the song. He's like, I need you to write us this record. But I'm like, can I hear some of the guitar? No. It's like, write it out for me. So what I do with Michael on certain songs, I will conceptually come up with a song. I'll give him a verse 2, pre-choruses, different options for bridges. I'll literally write out a plethora of stuff. And leaving it all behind had a few options for him. But I definitely remember writing a few words that connected with me, because I was sitting at that table, and I wasn't like at my end or anything, but everything had just boiled over in it. I remember a song coming over me in the cafe. It could have been Don Henley or John Waite or like something very emotional. I put, I'm sitting all alone. I hear your words come through the radio. Like the universe is talking to me through these songs and music. And then I just wrote, leaving it all behind. It won't be easy, but I'll be fine. Leaving it all behind. It says, forgetting when misery was mine. Michael slightly changed that. It was like, forgetting the times when you were mine. Me and Michael worked together in an amazing way. Our chemistry, we went from not being enemies, but I was in a band with Tim Gaines and they had the falling out, to me and him being meant to be together, like songwriting soulmates, Michael and I, which you guys will hear on his next album too. This thing is incredible. So leaving it all behind, man, when I wrote that, and then Michael does touch-ups too and maneuvers things around, that was one of those moments I'm like, something special's here. And when I heard the final version, I'm like, this has to be one of the singles. That song really helped push the album, I think, in sales. I'm still waiting on the Billboard chart results, hopefully any day. But I looked on Amazon, and it was doing very well. I think we hit number 35 out of every album sold a few weeks ago. That's an incredible thing. So I'm glad everybody likes Cart and Sacrifice. I'm very proud of it. It's I think it's my defining moment, the entire album, which led to the other gigs, Lynch Mob, Michael Solom, and a bunch of other stuff that's coming up. That album, I think, showed everybody, like, whoa, Gian can bring it with the best of our guys at the labels. It was a game changer, that album, for me. So that's what it's about. It's about moving forward, being aware, like being aware of the trials in life and accepting you just have to move forward. What are you going to do? I have no choice. Leaving it all behind, it won't be easy, but just knowing it's going to be all right. I think it's a very positive song, but it's very realistic to everyday life. Yeah, I'm very proud of that one. So I'm glad people are liking it at such a big level.
I'm going to kick it back up to Jay. Last call for questions.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you so much, Metal Summoners. We love you guys. It is last call for alcohol. Any final questions, comments that you want to give to Giancarlo? This is your time to do it. Tommy Rice, we appreciate your support, brother. You're awesome, man.
Thank you.
Are really stoked that you've been digging on the episode and that you've really enjoyed us talking to Giancarlo. And we appreciate your support, Tommy. So thank you so much for taking time out of your evening to tune in with us, man. That's super duper awesome. But yes, Metal Summoners, Face Edge fans, Giancarlo fans, it is last call for alcohol, guys. So go ahead and get those comments in. So one of the things that I was kind of thinking about, John, that I wanted to ask you was, so guys like Michael Sweet, guys like George Lynch, not in a bad way, but they're known for being very strong personalities. They want what they want, they like what they like, and they expect nothing but perfection when it comes to the products that they're trying to release. You have a very similar personality, I also believe, because of the way that you were very passionate about wanting to get there, wanting to do it a certain way, knowing that you had to go through some trials and tribulations to do it. When it comes to collaborating with these guys, talking with these guys, and kind of figuring out their visions versus your visions, have there been any situations where you guys have kind of knocked heads, or have you all kind of had to just make sure that you kept your communication open?
There is nothing but respect for all the artists I work with. And no, not at all. I think I have such a childhood history of them helping me through my life that it's just magic with them. I've had people come up to me and say, I saw you work with George. I heard that's difficult. I don't think working with George is difficult at all. I think his mind operates on a whole other level than your average person. This guy, George is very mellow on stage, but when you meet him in person, you work with him. I put it this way. I was talking to somebody the other day about a horse. You have to get on this horse or you're going to fall off with Lynch, because his neurons are like amazing and incredible. He is just one of the most creative human beings on the planet. And George is very thankful. He will call me and say, Giancarlo, thank you so much. And it's kind of cool. And I slipped a few times. Like, we'd be working on a song, and I said, look, George, if you're not happy with something, you let me know. There's a song on the new Lynch Mob that it's like a balladish type thing. I sent one thing that was very Lynch Mob. I think it was too Lynch Mob. You know, because Dokken had like Dream Warriors, and then Lynch Mob had Dream Until Tomorrow. And and in my dreams, and da-da-da. So I wrote this thing kind of like that. And George kind of caught on that it was a little forced. He's like, I want something more Duran Duran. I'm like, what? Okay. Like, but then I looked into it, like Ordinary World is a very great written song. George is like, there was another song on there that's 10 minutes long, dude. It's crazy. And I had to write this conceptual song, and I did double choruses. And he goes, look, I just need something simple where a lynch mob fan will come into my concert. They're going to remember it and sing it going home. So working with George, I think, or Michael, or James Durbin, or Alessandro Del Vecchio, or Fabrizio Grassi, or all these guys, it's about communication. Heart and Sacrifice was the hardest one for me. Why is that? You got an atheist and you have a Christian. And you got, Heart and Sacrifice came up out of Michael Sweet not sure what to do with the album. And he heard my work with Clean Break, and he called me on the phone. Man, I don't know. And, I said, here's what my approach would be. And I heard the interview with Edward Trunk where George says, I want to do not an argument, but like just a little bit of a debate between Christianity and atheism. So I said, wow. And Michael ain't going to sing that. There's just no way Michael Sweet's going to be like, I don't believe or something. So what I did is I took George's concept and wrote all the concepts based on that. Half George, half Michael. So you got It Rains Again. That's a George Lynch song. You got You'll Never Be Alone. That's a Michael Sweet. You have Heart of Sacrifice. That's a Dawkins song. You have, these, if you listen through the album, You'll Never Be Alone. That's a Stryper. It's Time to Believe. That's a Stryper. Leaving It All Behind is a Dawkins. So, see, I do work similar to George. You can see my neurons start going. So that album was crazy, balancing it, and we succeeded. That was the hardest one out of any of the albums, and there was my favorite guitar player, my favorite singer of all time from the hard rock scene. It's like, how do you do this? And they were so grateful. If you compare it to the other two, and George has went on the record saying it's his favorite of the three. Definitely my favorite of the three. I told Michael Sweet they should call it Obliterate, because I believe it obliterates their last album. I think it just destroyed their last. I wasn't a big fan of the last record, and I told Michael that to his face. Communication's everything. And I said, we're going to bring it. We're going to bring the heat. And conceptually, we did. George was on fire. The label turned down 4 songs or something, 5 songs. They were like, what are we going to do with this thing? Because George was playing pretty dark. So if you listen to the first 4 songs on Heart and Sacrifice, those were the new songs. The rest, you could see it take, You'll Never Be Alone, Still Alive. But after, it takes this dark metal turn. The whole album, I believe, was going to be in that vein. And the label's like, hey, we need some Dream Warriors. We need some Calling on You, and those Miracle, Leaving It All Behind, Heart and Sacrifice, and one of my favorites, track 2, Where I Have to Go. That song is about me and getting in the industry, where I have to go, what I have to do, and believing in yourself. So that album was a balancing act beyond anything. And then also hearing word that the songs were rejected, not because of the lyrics or anything, because George was doing some more experimental stuff. They're like, hey, we need, and George and Michael both pulling it back together with me and Ollie, Sandro Del Vecchio as a team, and completing what I honestly feel it's one of the best albums on Frontier's entire catalog. I'm extremely proud of Heart and Sacrifice. Yeah, listen all the way through, done through it, man. It's viciously beautiful.
Absolutely. Like, and one thing I want to ask you as well is that I feel that Alexander is incredibly underrated for exactly the skill sets that he has.
Go back here?
Yeah. With everything he does, from Revolution Saints to his keyboard playing to just his vocal stylings when he does his backing vocals and stuff like that. I feel like Del Vecchio really doesn't get as much attention as he should. Like you hear when it comes to keyboard players, you hear about the Derek Sherinians of the world, who's absolutely fantastic. Don't get me wrong. But I feel like somebody like Alex is a very kind of underrated commodity that I think is so awesome that he's been able to infuse with you.
You know, he reached out to me. He produced the Third Face Edge album. And we didn't have a big difference, but something happened and we fixed it. And I have a lot of people kind of going, hey, I'm like, I'm not looking to take anybody's spot. I am looking to work with Del Vecchio, work with Frontiers Records. I'm looking to bring new blood into the entire label, whether that's videos and most importantly, writing songs. Alessandro, I think, is in a hard spot because for me, I'll be happy if I do 5 albums a year, 4 albums a year. I can really just get in. Where Ollie has to produce, play keyboards. He played bass on Hard and Sacrifice, man. So, but I'm getting a lot of the fans are kind of excited to have me there now because it's so he's in Italy and he's definitely got that Euro flavor. And I'm from the streets of LA. Even though I'm Italian, I'm from Los Angeles. I saw the MTV era. I worked with Rat, the guys in Dokken, obviously Stryper and all those guys. So I infuse that Los Angeles dirty, nasty sound. And I'm also a prog musician. So I think Ale, I don't know how he does it all, honestly, because if Frontier said we need you to produce and this and that and this, I'd be like, oh my God. I would rather do 3 or 4 records, maybe 5 for Frontiers a year where they go, wow, Giancarlo's involved. We know it's going to be great. Ollie has got the world on his shoulders, and I try to be very supportive of that. Like, just keep doing it. I just don't know how he does it, honestly. Me and Michael Sweet talked about it the other day. Like, how is he carrying all this weight? So I'm hoping with me coming in to work with him on other things, it's going to help that and help the label overall to bring the melodic rock, metal, prog sound into Frontiers music from Los Angeles. That's my goal, So, Ali, we'll see. The stuff we just wrote for this new album, can't say who it is. Man, it's hot. It's hot. So I look forward to seeing what else we can do together.
Absolutely, man, for sure.
He can record it and deal with all the bands. Just send me the song.
Yeah, absolutely, man, 100%. For sure. Giancarlo, before we cut you loose, we want to kick it back up to Angel for any final questions.
Let's keep going. If there's any questions or whatever, I did a show the other day for 2 hours, so whatever you guys want. You want to do another 15 minutes? I'm cool with it.
Yeah, dude, we're good. Angel, you good for now?
Yeah, so one more question. Do you have in your music catalog, do you have any unreleased songs that you hope to?
What's that?
I'm not. Do you have any songs that you've written that are unreleased that you hope to release someday in any capacity?
Oh yeah, I just wrote 6 for an album. I can't talk about. Freaking killer. There's this one dude that's. I don't know why it's not released on Frontiers already. It's killer. It's like Metallica meets Bon Jovi.
Huh.
I could say the title. It's called because whatever. Well, it's called "Deal with Yourself." Dude, it's bad ass. I'm hoping it makes one of these new albums. I submitted it to Alessandro. Let's see if it makes an album for next year's release. This song, bro, it's like Metallica, but not like early Metallica, like Black Album Metallica. It's like Enter Sandman meets Kiss Tears Are Falling meets like Operation Mindcrime. I know it's a weird mix, but if this song whoever gets the song, it's like they're going to win. There's just something about it. So what I usually do is I start fresh. But that one I had when I was done writing Clean Break. It was at the end of the Clean Break sessions and I was done. So technically, I guess you could say I wrote it for Clean Break. But we were kind of done and I did it at the last minute. Bro, it will see the light of day. I will make sure that song sees the light of day. Like, because what's in my mind is maybe one day I will come back on my own because a lot of people want that too. Because Bass Edge did okay. And I will release an album. I don't think I'm going to come back as Bass Edge because I've kind of built a reputation on my own name now. I think I'll come back as a solo artist. And if nobody picks up, if Frontiers or someone don't pick up that song, I'm going to play that song. And I will record that one day. Mark my words. So I don't keep like a backup arsenal of songs. I like it when an artist reaches out to me. We're working on a new one. All right, Michael Sweet says, we're working on this. Dean Serban says, hey, I need this. Or, I like being fresh to my approach. I like to not have the songs to just give them away. Deal with Yourself was a rare exception where I was done with the Clean Break or finishing it. It was right there. And I probably would have submitted it for it, but we were done or the deadline was over. But I like to have a fresh approach to any album. I'd rather just have you call me and go, here's our deadline, let's do it. And the gun goes and we write a new fresh album. I don't want to keep a bunch of songs in a backlog. Like what did Prince do that? He has like a vault of songs. Yeah. I'd rather just let's do it. Let's keep it fresh and let's get excited. Michael Sweet, I learned so much stuff from these guys. Oops. Michael Sweet taught me to work faster. Like I don't know if it wasn't for Michael, I don't know if I would have been able to get through Lynch Mob so quickly. Because Michael had a way of explaining it to me. He's very good at talking to me. How to compress songs in a timely fashion. Because I used to take a lot of time. So Michael showed me how to kind of, like Striper, look, they have like all these new albums. And I'll see in interviews like, okay, I'm going to write it in a few months. I'm like, what? This guy's insane. He showed me a way to get that done. A lot of it has to do with self-belief, self-confidence and doing it. So thank you, Michael, for that. I like keeping it fresh and new.
Nice. Thank you so much, Jules. We appreciate you guys tuning in. We appreciate you as always, supporting, wearing our shirt and all that kind of stuff. So thank you so much, Jules. So Giancarlo, here's a fun question for you because I can't help myself. So you have to give up either your Striper albums and T-shirts or your Dawkins albums and T-shirts, and you can't replace them. Who are you giving up?
Dude, that's easy. I mean, well, here's the question: can I keep my Lynch Mob? Can I keep my Lynch Mob album?
You know what? I'll give you that one. I'll let you keep Lynch Mob.
John can go sell a ship across. That's easy. I'm sorry, Don. I shouldn't talk nasty about you in an interview. Don is like the Vince Neil of my world that won't go away. Like I worked with him as a teenager, and it did not go well. It went very. I'm not gonna get into it. Nope. Let's put it this way. I don't care. Like George and I work together. There's no issues. I did the Kiss cruise with the Big Deal from Frontiers, and Don hasn't seen me in. I think Don expected me to go away. Believe it at that. I'm on Special Thanks on Erase the Slate from '99. That's my nickname. It says special thanks to Ace, Amber, my dearest ex-wife, and my daughter, Faith Floridia, if you look at it. So Don was kind of like my Michael Sweet when I was like 20. We were kind of like best bros. And to make a long story short, yeah, Don can. Anyways, so Doc and Elms, you're out. But it all worked out because all the stuff I learned from those Docking days when I was a teenager, I'm able to infuse it into Lynch Mob or Docking related projects. So sorry, Don. Striper's always going to come first over you, my old friend. Oh,
Nice.
see this smile? I'm not going to get into it. I'm not one of those guys. But he comes up a lot because of the styling of Lynch Mob and George Lynch, and they're connected. And I learned a lot from Jeff Pilson, a lot from Jeff Pilson. And Wild Mick Brown. I used to drum tech for Mick Brown on the side when I was a kid. We'd go out and go on his Harley. And a funny story about Mick Brown is
Yes.
we're shooting. Yeah, Mick is, bro. I got some.
You can give two stories if you need to.
Man.
We're talking about Mick Brown, so you can give two
crazy,
stories if you need.
Let's put it this way. One day I went to go hang out. I was at Don's house. God, we were talking about this 20 years later. I was at Don's house and he had his jacuzzi in the back and Nick used to love to just go in there naked. And I walk out my church like, bro, is everything okay? I'd be like, bro, just stay in the jacuzzi. But Mick told me, Mick would say something. I said this to one of my friends. He'd say, hey man, little man, come on, because I was like this timid Italian kid that was growing up as a Jehovah's Witness nightmare cult, and I was very like, oh, with my own shadow, because they're like, you're gonna die, you're gonna die. So I'm walking around like, am I gonna die? And Mick would be like, hey, get on the Harley Davidson. No, I can't go. Come on, live a little. It's one of my favorite comments from Mick. And I'm like, all right, Mick, let's get on the Harley. So I remember getting on the Harley with Mick and flying up in Redondo Beach through the hills. Man, Mick and I had a great time. So I did drum tech work with him. So I learned a lot about drumming through Mick. And flash forward, this is crazy, right? The End Machine videos. Crack the Sky, which I'm in. I'm like the dead guy and the cult member, and Blood and Money. So the first video we did was Blood and Money. Who's the drummer? Steve Brown, Mick's younger brother. Guess what I was doing? If you look at, there's a video called, like a behind the scenes video called The Dark Divide. Watch it. You'll see me in the video when I have my hair all tied back with a mohawk. I'm setting up drums with Steve Brown. I look at the drums and I go to Steve. I go, bro, man, these look familiar to me. Like, I've seen these. He goes, yeah, my brother Mick gave them to me. So flash forward, those drum sets I used to set up as a kid, those same stands were the same ones that I used to set up for Mick. 20 years later, I did it with Steve Brown. So I'm getting a lot of that. Where I'll do something like when I worked with Don, it's like, I'm over it. Shit happens. It's rock and roll. You either buckle up and get used to the evils of the music industry and move forward, or you end up no one. So the same thing is happening with George Lynch, where all that stuff I learned from them is now infused into Lynch Mob or Tweed and Lynch. And at the time when that all blew up in my face as a kid and I got out of LA, and what was the purpose for all that? So I tell people, just kind of go with things as they happen. You might not understand them because later they work into your life. So I can go on about, I've got docking stories for days, and I try to be respectful, even though my history with Don, that wasn't good. I think that's what I was going to say. I was playing with the Big Deal on the Kiss cruise, okay? And so when we did the Kiss, Alessandro Lovecchio hit me up and said, I need you to learn these songs, blah, 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 opening for Kiss, for the Big Deal. If you haven't seen them on Frontiers, they're really cool. I don't know how I learned all the songs, but I did. So when you enter the Kiss cruise, there's the ship. All the fans go through the right, and then you go through an elevator through the artist thing in the left. So we go up there. I see my buddies in LA Guns. We get in line, and Don is right like 10, 20 feet from me. And I just said to myself, I'm not going to get in a fight. And I was talking to the band like this, and they're from Serbia. They're like, yeah, what is going on? Don Dokken won't stop staring at us. I go, because he thinks he's seeing a ghost. But no, you have to, and you'll hear stories in the industry, like Bret Michaels. I remember him talking about Every Rose Has Its Thorn was about somebody else in the industry that was more popular than him, and his girlfriend left him from her. You hear all these interesting stories, and I have an interesting one. I mean, you never know. Somebody said, what if you were going to write a Dokken album one day? If Don gave me a call and we talked and he was respectful, you never know. I mean, I don't know. It is kind of interesting how Dokken related things are for me. It just won't go away. So I more cherish it instead of looking at the negative in my life. Even Don, we had our differences, but I did learn a lot from Don when I did spend time with him in the studio. We just behave differently as human beings. So anyways, I got Dokken stories for days, but I learned a lot as a teenager, and I love George now. No, you wouldn't. Yeah, I don't know. It depends how much the paycheck is. How about you send me the album, I'll write it, and Don, go sing it, but pay me well and give me my publishing. Is Pilson one of the best background singers ever? Pilson is a monster, bro. Jeff Pilson is you're so funny. You guys remember I'm a professional now? Oh, my camera. You guys remember I'm a professional now, so we don't talk bad about people. We look in the positives of life. I'm getting like psychological. Yes, Pilson is amazing human being, respectful, loving, caring, has a beautiful family and a life. That's amazing. But Pilson's a great producer, a great songwriter, great bass player, great guitar player. Dude, Pilson's the man. I saw him many times. Revolution Saints video. He spent some time with my son because my son worked on the last Revolution Saints videos with Pilson in it because I was doing the Kiss Crew thing. So Pilson is very kind. He's always been good to me, even when I was a kid. So yes, Jeff Pilson, I love you.
Yeah, Jeff.
I went on a Dokken rant. I don't know where that came from. Sorry.
It's all good. Jeff played bass and produced one of my favorite records over the last 10 years that a lot of people forget about, which is Steven Adler's band when he did the Adler record, Not Dead Yet. That album is so good, and Jeff played on it.
That's right. He did produce.
Oh, we also had.
Angel's breaking up.
Jeff for the 1 year. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
We had Jeff for the 1 year anniversary show.
We did.
He's just
That was awesome.
a great guy. When we did the End Machine video, I'll never forget it. I hadn't seen Jeff in a while. And I was reluctant about working on him because of my history with him. And so if you look at the Crack the Sky video, we're like on top of this hill. I walk up the hill and Jeff goes, "Hey, everybody, you see this guy right here?" And he points at me. This guy's an amazing singer. He's an amazing writer. I mean, just in front of everybody. And I'm like, wow, what a great guy for him to do that. And him and I, at the end of the End Machine videos, went into his studio. We had a 20-minute talk about me as a teenager, what happened, what went wrong. And Jeff said, "I am so proud of you for not giving up no matter what happened in the industry when you were younger and pushing forward." It's like, look at you got FaceTime, you got all these things going. So to get Jeff's loving thumbs up meant the world to me so many years later. And then my son got to work with them. And my son said, "Dad, Jeff," he told him I was working on Lynch Mob. And Jeff's like, "I'm not surprised. Like, Giancarlo's always on it." So Jeff holds a very special place in my heart, and he always will. A matter of fact, a lot of the stuff I learned from Jeff, I really use it in a lot of my songs.
Yeah.
I really do like his bass playing approach. No ego, just slapping it out. And man, he's. I can go on all day about the greatness of Jeff Pilson.
Absolutely, for sure. So here's a fun question before we kick it back up to Angel again. Just an opinion question from you. What do you and I'll even start with myself after I ask you this question. What do you think of John 5 and Motley Crue? So I love Motley Crue. I've been a Motley Crue fan my whole life. Been my favorite band for 30 years. I love John 5. Everybody that knows me knows I'm a horror movie fanatic. So everything about like that John is into when it comes to horror stuff, as well as of course everything he did with Rob Zombie, is untouchable and stuff like that. My thing is, I love John in the band because honestly, he looks right in the band.
Right.
But it's very strange not seeing Mick Mars. It's been Motley Crue for almost 50 years. Yes, we didn't have Vince for an album. Yes, we didn't have Tommy for an album. But we had Nicky and we had Mick for all of them. So what's just kind of your thought on John 5 and Motley Crue?
I've already thought it over, and I think I got a killer answer for you. Are you ready for this?
Do it.
Okay. When you think of Motley Crue, you think of L.A. and nastiness. And when you think of Mick Mars' guitar playing, what is he? Not very technical.
Nope.
He's just dirty riffs and blues guitar. So, John 5 is the opposite. I think Motley, one of the key elements was that nasty Los Angeles, raw, dirty sound. I don't think John 5 brings that to the table. For example, before you go, okay. Poison. Look when they brought in Richie Kotzen. Bro, he was playing so good. Go watch the Native Tongue videos.
Yep, I know.
Like they couldn't even play. They had a catch. It looks like a marathon runner running with me chasing him. Like I watched the Native Tongue videos where he's just like so easy. And boys are like, what do we do with this guy in those videos? He was the right guy for Poison. His riffs were a certain style. I feel the same way because, of course, I like Richie Kotzen more as a player. If you were to say me and Cece or Richie, I'm going to say Richie Kotzen. But on a songwriting level, on a hook level, there's a difference between, and I learned this from George. Hooks are different than technique, okay? It's important to play good, but hooks are what pull the people in, like, I'm not going to talk shit on Extreme, but I am. So the new Extreme song, everybody, oh, look at Nuno's solo. Cool, love it. You remember anyone else of the song? There you go. So we'll see what John 5 brings. If he can respect the legacy of what Mick did and play a little nasty, I think it'll work. But if he's going to go in a virtuoso world, I mean, do you really think of Motley Crue and Queensryche Sandwich or Marty Friedman Sandwich? So we'll see what he does, and it should be interesting. But yeah, of course, Mick was the sound. So I always support melodic bands getting out and kicking ass. But man, Mick is like, it's kind of like the heart of Motley, I think. I don't know.
Well, because the thing I also always loved about Mick, and I got to meet Mick. He's a great guy. We had great conversation and stuff like that. But that's the thing I also always respected a lot about Mick is he was also the unheard guy. Like all the other guys will go, they'll go off on their interviews or say whatever they want for hours at a time and stuff like that. You really didn't get to you didn't get to hear from Mick all that much. Like I got invited to a taping of that metal show back when that show was still on when Mick was the guest. And I was so stoked to be there for that because I was like, we're going to hear from the guy who never gets to speak. This is going to be awesome. And that's my thing. it's so difficult seeing Mick not in Motley because I'm with you 100% on that just sleazy, raw, just sweet rock.
Oh,
But
I love
again, I'm not knocking John in any way because I
Right.
100%
You respect him as a
understand
musician.
and I respect him.
Of course.
And I've seen the footage, I've seen the pictures. He looks the part. He does
And they
visually
look good together.
look like he belongs in that band. But you're definitely right. Like he's just so clean.
It's so, you know, I don't like everything precise. When I wrote the new Lynch Mob, I went back and I listened to the albums. And on the second album, there's some stuff that Robert Mason did on the vocals that is so beautiful. It's like you hear the voice, like he's reaching for that note. Today's modern industry is like, we can't have that. Let's go in auto tune and fix it to where it's perfect. I love music with some nastiness. I always liked Rat. I like the dirty. I like James Brown. I like Motown. I like stuff like. I'm saying to somebody like James Brown. You can hear like the squeaky kick drums, or that's just me. I think it's what's missing from a lot of music, and that's weird because I'm into prog, right? But I think the industry has become so fake and processed. I mean, I've gone into studios where they just pull it up on the computer and go, all right, guys, here are our kick drums. Oh, this one's off, that one, and they just line it, and everything is so machine-like. I miss the days where it's like, let's pick up our guitar, let's just write. And even if it's not perfect, let's get it there, you know, in terms of you got a string to hit the note live, that's okay. We've come in the industry where even heavy metal is so processed that it's like, that it bothers me. It bothers me. I like the imperfections of rock and roll. I like when I sing, my voice is stronger one night and weaker one night. I just love real music. And we're getting diluted in this overproduction. I hope with John 5, that doesn't happen where they get too like produced and like too slick. I don't know. I just love the old stuff.
Yeah.
No,
Well, they use Brock again.
no,
Yeah.
yeah.
Let's see how it goes.
I mean, it's interesting. Also, that the one thing that I will say that's a little funny about seeing John in there, and again, this is his comfort zone. I'm not knocking it any way, and I know it's because like I'm a sleaze player that likes my instrument down in front of my dick. But seeing him with that guitar high up on his chest, that's the way he plays, is such a different visual. Seeing those Motley songs where Mick wore his down around his stomach and his belt.
Oh yeah, well, we know who used to play guitar. He's such a rock star. He passed away with Steve Clark from Def Leppard. Remember how he used to play that Les Paul?
Yep,
Like,
I remember.
oh, that's so cool.
Yeah,
You know, it's so cool.
Very
I love it.
perfect.
Just like, bam, if the notes are wrong and I'm reaching for them, let's go for it. And, we'll see. I mean, technically it's going to be great. Technically, it's probably going to be the most difficult stuff. But my favorite Motley era is John Corabi album. So
Yeah,
I love the Corabi record.
same here.
That album.
I mean, I just love it. You got to love that album because think about '94. You got the shitty grunge bands.
Oh yeah.
So Motley Crue came out with this kick-ass album that just fucking rocked.
Oh man, I love all
And that's
that era where bands got heavier. Like, see, I love you, Janie. I miss you. I got my Warrant Dog Eat Dog shirt here.
Yep.
This is my boy that would call me when I was a teenager and get me motivated. I always honor Janie in everything I do, even though he had his demons and shit from south. I love Janie. That album, Dog Eat Dog, Winger Pull, Cinderella Still Climbing, Slaughter, Fear No Evil, Queen Strike Promised Land. There was a lot of killer records because they were wanting to get more competitive. But man, Metallica's Black Album came out and they're like, man, let's pull up our boots and so I like a lot of those records. And the Motley 94 album is a great example of it. I mean, that thing, listen to the drums, dude. I think that album has some of the best drum sounds I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Well, Tommy Lee went back to playing the two tom toms
Right.
on that record, which was pretty fun to see because I always liked them with the two tom toms in the front.
Well, it was like they got their old Motley attitude back. To me, they look like a gang again in the pictures. They look like a band of brothers from LA again. I just really like that album. I really enjoy it to this day.
They were
And I
hooligans.
like those albums because grunge was coming out, so it was hard for me to find good records. So
Yeah.
those ones I listened to a lot.
No, for sure. And my only thing is, we've had John on the show. I've been a John Corabi fan my whole life because I was a fan of him with the Screen.
Oh,
So
I got a story for you.
my only thing, and I'll kick it to your story for 100%. My only thing, again, just being a Motley guy, I love the Motley 94 album. I think it's bulletproof from top to bottom. It was just very weird for me with John in that band, not because of the Motley 94 album, because I think thing's just perfect. It's that John, we were talking about tone and singing ability early in the show. He is listening to John, who's got much more of a bluesy tone, a lot closer to like a Joe Listay from like Bang Tango, singing like Livewire, where Vince took his tone from like David Lee Roth because he's a shrieker. He's not a singer. I always found that was the only thing that was very strange. Personally, I've always said around that time, if Motley had taken their time to look for other singers to do the songs that were already in the catalog, in my opinion, bar none, the person that they should have hired was Lizzie Borden.
Oh, wow.
And I will die on that hill.
Look, they should have done a second album with them. It was the timing. Bro, I was in high school then. Those bands were not popular. It was like I would wear a Kiss shirt to school or a Motley or a Queen Fright, even Promised Land, even though it's all, they'd be like, you're an idiot. I mean, it was bad.
Yeah.
I got the same thing, but
Generation Swine, when they brought Vince back, it didn't sell more than the John album.
Nope.
John album went gold.
No, it was worse. I hate that album. The
Generation Swine was tough.
They should have given more. They should have given more albums. Let me tell you my Corabi story before we leave, because it's important to my history in the music industry.
Absolutely.
So when I ran away from home at 14, couldn't deal with shit at home, you know. Italian dad, Jehovah's Witness, bad mix. What's the only thing why don't Italians like Jehovah's Witnesses? You know why? They don't like any. They don't like anybody. Anyways, I just couldn't take it anymore. My family was involved with that garbage. And Dave Mustaine went through this. Dave Mustaine's family was Jehovah's Witnesses. He had to do it. I would like to talk to him sometime about it. So I couldn't take it, so I ran away from home and went with my mom in Florida. So during that time, I was able to really practice and not have to go to that garbage every week and cut my teeth. So I would work on George Lynch, and I was big on the 94 Motley album. Metal Edge had a interview with Corabi, and this sets me getting confident. John Corabi kind of helped me. He wrote an article, and it said, if you want to write John a letter, here's the address. And I wrote him a letter. I was like, here's what I'm wanting to do with my future. And I don't remember the whole letter, but I remember it was real sincere. So I actually came back to California to visit my dad and them. You know, we kind of not cleared things up, but I would visit him. And I went to a Kiss convention when it was the one where Peter got on stage with them for the first time in LA. I was there, like right in the front. So I was 94. I was like 14. Yeah. So I came here. I went back to Florida. I'll never forget this day, because if the timing would have been any more off, I would have never had this experience. So I come home, it was like the day after, and in my kitchen in Florida, we used to have a phone. Remember when they would like light up, bring, 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 bring.
Yep.
And you can turn off your ringer, right? I go into my kitchen at this exact time, and I'm kind of in the kitchen, and this phone starts flashing. And my mom was in the other room. I go, why is the phone flashing? She goes, oh, I turned off the ringer. My sister at the time was little. She's sleeping. And I'm like, oh. So I pick it up. Hello? And he goes, oh, it's Ace. That was my nickname. Is Ace Floridia there or whatever? Because nobody could say Giancarlo. It's too difficult. So I would wear Kiss shirts. So they called me Kiss or Ace. Whatever. So he goes, hey, is Ace there? Or this guy goes, Ace. I go, yeah, that's him. And he goes, hey, it's John Corabi from Motley Crue. And I go, hey, Mom, it's John Corabi from Motley Crue. And she goes, hang it up. It's your friends playing a joke on you. And I go, hey, bro, I got to go. I really don't have time for this today. And as I'm hanging up the phone, he goes, wait. You wrote me a letter. You wrote me a letter. I go, wait. My mom's like, hang it up. I'm like, I didn't tell anybody about that. No,
wow.
no one. None of my, it was just a private thing I did. I wanted him to know. Dude, it was him. We talked for 2 hours. He talked to my mom. Like, he helped me so much for calling me. It was one of the moments where I said, maybe I am meant to be in the music video. I'm in the music business because I said, why did you call me out of all the letters? He was like, I just felt something here in your letter, like special, and I wanted to call you to support you what you're going to do in your future. What a moment. And if I wouldn't have been standing by the phone. So I meet him 4 years later opening up for Cinderella. He had a band called Union. And he even remembered me. Like, dude, I'm like, I'm in LA now, and I'm sorry. So the Corabi moment as a 14-year-old teenager made me believe in myself. So thank you, Corabi, for calling me when I was 14. Now let's write some songs together. But it's a great story that I thought I just felt like I should tell it right now. True story. Yep.
Angel, let's kick it back up to you, buddy. Anything that's popped up from the fans or anything else for yourself, my guy?
No, just want to thank you for your time and thank you for
No
the
problem.
2 hours, man.
It was awesome. We talked a little about wrestling, but we got back to the music, so we're good. And so I guess closing that Corabi story is pretty cool.
That's a great one, man, for sure. So, Giancarlo, where can you be found for fans that are looking for you? Plug your socials, and where can you find like merch and stuff like that if you still have Faith's Edge stuff?
So the cool thing about Faith's Edge is you just Google Faith's Edge, and you can get anything. You can get our discography on Walmart, Amazon. The cool thing about it was a great name in terms of originality. So you can find any of that stuff online. All the companies still carry it. If you want to find what I'm doing now with songwriting, you could just go to Frontiers Music, order Sweet and Lynch, order the new Lynch Mob that's coming this year. Look at my videos that I'm doing. Frontiers Music, their YouTube or their website, and gonna keep it going.
Awesome, dude. Do Faith's Edge shirts and stuff like that still exist? Because I'd love to get my hands on one.
I saw some bootlegs, man. I saw like some dude in China selling them on eBay. And I'm like, he's cool, let him off the hook. No, I mean, Faith's Edge is something that I'm proud of. I'm not going to say it will never come back, but because never say never. But right now, my focus is writing for these artists because they have such a built-in. How can I say no to?
Absolutely. 100%, man, for sure. Well, Giancarlo, we can't thank you enough for taking time out of your afternoon and evening to hang out with us again. And Angel and I never turned down the opportunity to get flashed. So,
well, I'm working on it. I'm cutting down the carbs. When these albums come out, like I'm hoping next year. Where are we in? By this time next year, yeah. We'll do something. Maybe we'll go over because there's some cool stuff coming your guys' way. So.
Absolutely, man. we'll
And thank
definitely
you for your support.
What's up?
Thank you for your support.
Absolutely, dude. Thank you
Angel's
so
been
much.
a fan
Oh, man.
back, I think, on my debut album or something. I don't know. But Angel's always. I remember, the thing that's great about
Yeah.
Angel is Blabbermouth was brutal to me. The people just would go on there. Who's this new guy? And Angel was going on there. F you. This guy rocks. Angel, you hold a special place in my heart. Thank you for defending me from the guy from Motley Brew or whatever.
Anytime.
Absolutely, man.
We'll do it again.
Well, nobody still goes over ass about whoever the hell he is.
Yeah.
He's probably in a grunge band
that's
right
what
now.
you get when you put yourself in the music industry. They can say what they want, but at the end of the day, I'm still going. I have a good story one day that I don't want to say now
Right.
that's related to Frontiers Records. That later in the future, I'm going to tell people the story. It's a story about not giving up, but that's for another time.
Absolutely, man. No worries. But thanks again, Giancarlo. We really appreciate you. Metal Summoners, thank you guys so much. Make sure that you're supporting Giancarlo Floridia on all of his socials and everything that he's doing with the bands that he's working with. Support Michael Sweet, support George Lynch, support LA Guns, support the Game Boy, and all that stuff. We appreciate everything that you guys do. Metal Summoners, we appreciate you guys supporting us, supporting our show. Anybody who wants to get down on Metal Summit merch, because we do have shirts, just DM me privately, and I'll get you all fixed up with how we can either meet in person or how I can ship it to you. More than happy to do that. So I appreciate you guys so much. There we go. And some love out to and a little bit of love out there to the Ultimate Warrior.
Feel the power, Don Dawkins.
Yes.
I love you guys.
We love you too, man. Absolutely. But we appreciate you guys, Metal Summoners. You guys take care, and we look forward to seeing you guys. Guest announcement over the weekend. It's going to be a good one. We've already got it confirmed, so we're not going to leave you guys crying. We got some really cool stuff for next week's episode with a couple of really cool people that we're stoked to have. So we look forward to seeing you guys in a week. We're going to have a great time. Watch for the guest announcement. Follow Angel Alamo on both Instagram and on Facebook. And you can find me as well on Facebook. And you can find me at Just a R&R Junkie on Instagram. Again, make sure that you're supporting and following Giancarlo and all of his endeavors. We appreciate him so much. And, of course, some love out to Bobby Dreyer. Follow him at BobbyDreyer.com and Psycho Steve at The Real Psycho Steve on Instagram. We'll see you guys in a week. Have a great weekend. Take care of each other and be good to each other. We'll see you guys. Have a great one. Take care. As always, you've been watching the